Well, he was gone, and now he's back. The Josh Portis era we thought had come to an end for the Seahawks. It really wasn't much of an era. I didn't have a chance to play a whole lot.
Just put on pause for a while.
Apparently it was. He goes to the Toronto Argonauts for a while. I'm not really sure what he did there, but he did enough that the Seahawks signed him to a 2-year contract to return to the fold. Does this mean he's the backup for next year?
I don't think so.
Yeah, not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say. We talked to Danny O'Neill about it a little bit when we filled in for Brock on the show. Yes, they've signed him to a 2-year deal. This is the NFL. 2-year deals don't mean anything. I don't get a sense that anyone feels that, okay, we've got our backup. We went with 2 quarterbacks last year. We got our 2 for this year. He's going to get a chance to compete for it, and maybe he's got a little bit of a leg up that he's been here before, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not the backup.
No, I won't be surprised at all. And he does. I mean, listen, you know, I know during our show we got the text screen, we get tons of texts from people who say, what about Portis? What about Portis? And there was a lot of hope and promise kind of centering around this guy based on him competing in the second half of games against 3rd and 4th stringers on teams, guys that aren't in the league right now. And yeah, he does have raw tools. He's tall. He's got a nice arm. He's athletic. Is he refined enough to really be a guy you're comfortable with if Russell Wilson goes down? I don't think so.
Although, I got to say this, I think Pete Carroll really likes him.
I think they do. I think they like the potential of all the raw tools, but I still think he is very, very raw. We've watched him in practice before, and you see that there's a big difference between what you see out of Russell Wilson and even Matt Flynn at the time and what Josh Portis was doing out there in practice. It was a different level. So how much has that changed since we've seen him? He's been gone for a bit. Maybe it has changed. Maybe they saw film and said, hey, he looks a little closer to a guy we might be able to count on in a dire situation, but I still think it's a position they're going to address in the draft.
And with a veteran, too. Right. I think we might see 4 quarterbacks in there. And the irony is, all going for the backup spot. I mean, not one of them with a chance to even start a game. All for the backup spot. And spot singular, which is the other thing that's kind of different about the Seahawks based on last year, is that they only went with 2 quarterbacks last year.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of teams that did that.
Yeah, but that was the first time they had done it here. So if they're going to do that, you would think they're going to want to have more choices than just
and I get the appeal. He's a guy that's familiar with the staff, familiar with how you play, what the expectations are. He's a guy that there's not a big learning curve there. He can jump right in and pick up where he left off to a certain extent. So it's really on him to show that he is a different guy than he was before. Obviously, if they felt that strongly about him before, they wouldn't have put him out there on the practice squad and then ultimately released him in November the way they did. So we'll see if he's a different Josh Portis, but I'm sure a big segment or the vocal minority, I call him out there, are very happy with this.